Calvin Phillips could complete his move to West Ham by the weekend and could make his debut on deadline day. Hi, good evening. Welcome along to the transfer show. Yes, West Ham closing in on Phillips, and there could be more arrivals. Also on the way, we will be live to St James's Park for the latest from Newcastle. And joining me tonight, Dharmesh Sheth, and on her debut in this window, Melissa Reddy. Now, there's plenty to play for at the Africa Cup of Nations. Group E tonight, and it reaches its climax. The group leaders Mali take on Namibia. And South Africa play Tunisia. Just 3 points separate all four teams. Right, we're going to start with Calvin Phillips and this move to West Ham. Dharmesh, how close is it?
Yeah, looks really, really close now, Mike. The move from Manchester City to West Ham United. He's back in the UK, along with the rest of the Manchester City squad after their warm weather training camp in Abu Dhabi. He's expected in London by tomorrow morning, where we expect him to have a medical with West Ham United. And all being well, we think it will get all done and dusted by the weekend. It could even get done in the next 24 to 48 hours. They haven't got a game this weekend, so no real rush. But if he can get registered, which we expect him to be, by Wednesday at midday, he will be available for West Ham United's next match, which is in the Premier League, at home to Bournemouth. That's on Thursday, which is deadline day. Just a reminder of the deal itself. It's a straight loan until the end of the season, but it does come with an option to buy in the summer for West Ham United. There's no information, official information, as to how much that option price is going to be, but one source is telling us it could be in the region of around £35 million. Okay. So it'll be up to West Ham United whether they want to exercise that option or not.
All right, Melissa, didn't work out at City. Why would it work out at West Ham?
Well, I think the norm at City, there are exceptions, is that it takes quite a while to acclimatise to Pep Guardiola's demands. Obviously, Calvin Phillips wasn't helped by the injury he had, and the fact that that number 6 position is so specialised, and you really see it when Rodri is not in it, how City struggle without him there as their anchor, because he reads it perfectly. Now, 2 Premier League starts in 18 months is not enough for somebody of Phillips' calibre. West Ham are looking for steel and more stability in their central areas. He can help their short passing game, also give them a different dimension with his long distribution, single pivot, double pivot. So it's a deal that makes sense for all parties. He can get minutes and West Ham get a quality midfielder.
What is interesting, before you carry on there, Mike, is the fact that it's come with an option. Now, initially, it was thought that City wouldn't put that option in, simply because they'd give him 6 months, first-team football, perform well, come back with 4 years left on his contract, and then have an element that they could dictate how much they could sell him for in the summer, if indeed they were going to sell him in the summer. But if the price is around that £35 million mark, then I guess City would win in one way, because West Ham United would end up paying a big fee, around £35 million. And if they didn't, and he still performed well, then they'd be in that position if they'd just done a straight loan anyway, because they could kind of dictate what kind of price Calvin Phillips would go for. Add to that, if he does play, you'd expect him to be in the squad for Euro 2024, at least under Gareth Southgate. If he plays and performs well there as well, the price can go even higher.
So, Melissa, we're not expecting any twists here, are we? We've mentioned all these other clubs that might be interested, but it's West Ham, is it?
Yeah, it seems like it's gone down to the final stages, and I think the other clubs just delayed a little bit too much. He wasn't a priority, and West Ham have come with some intensity. Because it's a transfer window, you know that there's always an element that something could happen, but I think West Ham are pretty confident.
OK, so that's Calvin Phillips. Let's talk Newcastle. Loads appears to be going around with them. Keith Downey is at St James's Park, and he joins us now. So, Keith, let's talk Kieran Trippier. What's going on with him?
Yeah, Mike. Well, we brought you the news yesterday, of course, that a third offer had been placed by Bayern Munich for the England international Kieran Trippier, and that was instantly rejected by Newcastle United. Today, our colleagues over in Germany, Florian Plettenberg, has reported that Bayern Munich are pulling away from the deal. Now, crucially, he used the word pulling away rather than having pulled away and ended their interest. Perhaps that's a poker play by Bayern, who are very keen to bring Kieran Trippier to the club. As far as the player is concerned, he is happy here on Tyneside, but he's flattered by the interest from the German champions. And look, I think he would be open to that move. But he does have a good relationship with the manager, Eddie Howe, also with the owners at the football club as well, and he is not agitating to leave. So we'll watch this one as the window develops. 3 offers placed by Bayern Munich, all rejected thus far, and as I say, they're pulling away rather than having pulled away. But Newcastle's stance through all of this is that Kieran Trippier is not for sale at any price.
All right, Melissa, let's touch on that. Keith says pulling away. Is this a game of chicken that Bayern Munich are playing?
It could be, because Bayern also have another negotiation in progress, and I'm getting information from my contacts in France to say they are still in talks with PSG over Nordi Mukile, who has been their first choice. And the reason they actually turned to Trippier is because they hit a stumbling block there where PSG were insisting that they wanted to have a compulsory buy option in that deal and that they wanted to secure a replacement first. But speaking to people in France, they say the fact that the negotiations are still ongoing between PSG and Bayern might be an indication why Bayern are willing to walk away from Trippier. There's also been the insistence from the German champions that they don't want to overpay. This is not a long-term deal for them, Trippier. He's not going to solve the position for the next 3, 4, 5 years. It's something that they need immediate impact for, and they're not willing to splurge, which is, in general, Bayern's tradition.
One thing I would say as well, Keith mentioned there that, yeah, they're pulling away and not pulled away. And supposedly, Kieran Trippier, as far as Newcastle United are concerned, is not for sale. Now, if they are relaying that direct message to Bayern Munich have gone back in 3 times. So either they're not getting the message, or there seems to be just a little bit of leeway potentially that, well, actually, how much higher are you going to go for us to maybe consider something? But as it stands, as Keith says there, not for sale at all, and Bayern Munich pulling away rather than pulled away. All
right, so still a bit to do with this one, Keith. But why are Newcastle looking at people leaving, given the fact that they've had all these injuries? Surely they need people coming in the door.
Yeah, Mike, they've made it pretty clear over the last couple of weeks that they do need to sell to be able to buy. They're pretty much stuck with regards to PSR, and that is the situation the club are in. They've spent £400 million since the takeover. They have not really been able to trade at all. So they're in a position now where they need to try and sell someone. So that is why the likes of Trippier, Callum Wilson and Miguel Almiron have all been linked with moves away in the last few days. I believe Almiron is the one of the 3 that could potentially go. I think Trippier and Wilson are most likely to stay. We've been telling you for the last couple of days that the Saudi Pro League club Al Shabab are in talks with Newcastle over a permanent move for the Paraguayan winger. It's our understanding that they are confident they can get a deal done. Talks continue, but the difficult side here will be that Miguel Almiron is settled in Newcastle, and as I understand it, does not want to make the move at this stage. So again, that is one that could change, but Newcastle really need to get one out the door to allow them to bring someone in. It's a midfielder that Eddie Howe wants to bring to the club. They've got so many injuries in that position at the moment, and I think the crucial thing would be to get a midfielder in. I think they can just about get away with losing Miguel Almiron, not so Kieran Trippier or Callum Wilson due to the positions that they play in.
OK, so Newcastle, we think, might do a bit of business. Keith Downey, live from St James's Park. Thanks, Keith. So that's Newcastle now. We've spoken a lot about Anthony Martial, haven't we, throughout this window. Today, Manchester United confirmed he will be out for 10 weeks after surgery. Dharmesh, will that change United's transfer plans this window?
Difficult to say, but on the face of it, it probably won't change Manchester United's plans for January, because they are keeping their eyes open, we know that, potentially in the loan market. And that was the case before and after Anthony Martial has been injured. And it's groin surgery, and as you mentioned there, it is 10 weeks. So as far as United are concerned, the stance has kind of been pretty steady throughout the window. There's nothing really hot at the moment with regard to potential incomings at Manchester United. But the market that they are looking at is the loan market, because like every other club in the Premier League, they're keeping an eye, more than an eye, on profitability and sustainability rules. And for them to be in that kind of market, you would have to think that maybe are they one of a number of clubs who are sailing just a little bit too close for comfort when it comes to that 3-year rolling period with regard to PSR. So, yes, he's injured. They're not going to renew his contract. They're not going to extend his contract by a further year. He's basically going to leave in the summer. So they're basically planning without Anthony Martial anyway for the long term. And it looks like they're planning without him in the short term as well. And it's not really going to change what United do for the rest of the window.
OK, let's talk short term, though, Melissa. Martial out, Sancho gone. Their main striker's got 1 Premier League goal all season. Are they not short in attacking options? 2. Sorry, 2. Prolific.
It's not up for dispute that they're severely short in attacking depth. It's actually quite concerning because Manchester United did not want to be in the position where they put so much pressure and responsibility on Rasmus Højlund so early. Scott McTominay is their leading goal scorer in the Premier League, I think, which says everything about their attacking options and situation at present. But United would say, well, Sancho and Martial have both hardly played for us, and we weren't banking on them, like Dharmesh says anyway, in the long term. So why would we get ourselves in a situation again where we're making short-term deals that don't actually benefit us, that are going to put us in a worse position in terms of trimming the squad again and going forward in the way we want? So I can understand United's position where they're keeping an eye open if there is something that could genuinely benefit them, because some of the loan deals that they've done in recent times, because they're financially hampered, has not actually done them a massive service. And the new situation that they're moving towards under Ineos taking sporting control is to be more shrewd with decisions, to be more surgical, and I think that's what we're seeing now.
It can't be ruled out. They can't be ruled out, though, because you never say never in a transfer window, particularly with Manchester United. If you look at the last 2 transfer windows, this time last year, they went to deadline day and they brought in Marcel Sabitzer on loan. In the summer, they spent big money and they did a lot of their business quite early in the window comparatively. But on the last day of the window, they brought in 3 players. One was a permanent deal in Altay Bayindir, the goalkeeper, for around £5 million. But they also brought in Sergio Reguilon and Sofian Amrabat on loan deals. So it can't be ruled out. But as Melissa rightly points out there, this is a new situation at Manchester United. Ineos, everything is going to be going through Ineos. They will have to be consulted, even though it hasn't been formally ratified. We know what's going on there. And it appears that they're doing a top-down approach rather than looking at, oh, do we need to bring in somebody on loan to cover at right-back? No, we need a chief executive. Bang. Omar Barado's in.
OK, so does that mean then, Melissa, that United are actually saying, we're kind of going to give away this season because we're looking long-term? And if they are the United fans going to stomach that?
I don't think Manchester United will feel it's fair to frame it in that way because, you know, they went in the summer, they recruited, they've backed Erik ten Hag, they've been through this takeover process where the stake of Ineos has been a month now. Listed in the New York Stock Exchange, still needs to be ratified by the Premier League, but we already see how fast they're moving in this new direction to change things, to ensure that the operational structure is solid. Because if that happens, results will feature on the pitch. Now, I know it's exciting and it's head-spinning to see, you know, mega money names being linked with United, but they've done that. They've been doing that, and it's got them nowhere. It's got them in this mess. So maybe it's people will think, well, why aren't you spending big, or why aren't you taking a risk, or why aren't you doing this? It's because their history shows that they've done it and it's not worked. So why not do things properly and the right way moving forward?
Manchester United didn't go into this season and say to everyone, you know what, let's go massive in January. It's not the way that big clubs or any clubs really would work. Last January was crazy. because we had £800 million spent, but predominantly half of that was from Chelsea. We hadn't seen the like of it before what happened last January. This time, we know it's against the backdrop of profitability and sustainability rules as well. This is not something that clubs can just say, oh, it's there, we don't need to worry about it. 2 of the clubs didn't operate within it. They've been found in breach. They could get points deductions. The rest of the 18 clubs who have operated within it, some of them are really close to not operating within it. So they've got to be careful and say, if it means we don't sign anyone in January, we've done the majority of our business in the summer, let's keep our powder dry. When the new budget and accounting season starts and the new transfer window opens, that's when we'll have a better idea of what we're going to do.
Indeed. All right, let's take a break. When we come back, we're going to talk Karim Benzema and also Gio Reyna. Where could they be off to? See you in a moment. Hello again. Now, the French media agency AFP reported yesterday that Karim Benzema wanted a short-term move away from the Saudi Pro League. Melissa Reddy has different news. Tell us.
Yeah, I've been speaking to a lot of people in France today because in my building there lives a lot of footballers, and they were all asking me, is there a chance that Benzema could come to the Premier League, or where do you think he's going to go and what's happening? So I put in some calls to France, and Benzema's camp are strongly refuting reports that he wants to leave, that he's unsettled. And actually, the story in France is that there's some kind of communications war going on between Al Ittihad, who they say have leaked the information that Benzema is unhappy and that he's looking for a move away. There's been lots of friction between him and the club in terms of late arrivals and how they feel he's handling training sessions and things like that. But his camp say he doesn't want to go anywhere, he's happy. Then the offset of that was that Lyon have been reported to be, in deep negotiations to try and make this romantic deal come true. And they say absolutely not. It's a fake story. It's financially impossible. He's not going to leave anyway, not until the summer at least, where we get greater clarity on the situation. So for all the players that live in my building, no, Benzema is not coming to take your spot just yet.
This would be terrible, wouldn't it? Hang on a sec. For the Saudi Pro League, Darmish, their poster boy surely could not leave.
Yeah, so I was just going to come to that. Because cynics could say, we've had so many of these reports that Benzema doesn't want to be there. Now, Melissa has said, no, that's not true. The cynic in me might think, well, hold on. The Saudi Pro League and the Saudi clubs have said, you're not going anywhere. So then suddenly, is there a little bit of PR going on and saying, oh, no, I didn't want to go anywhere, because he knew he wouldn't be able to go anywhere. It's one thing Jordan Henderson leaving the Saudi Pro League. And at the time I said, all the focus was on Jordan Henderson. Has he made a mistake? Is this looking bad on him? When I was saying, is this looking bad on the Saudi Pro League? Because are they losing face? They brought Jordan Henderson in, and now after 5 or 6 months he doesn't want to be there. This is a different kettle of fish.
Oh. Yeah, they can't let him
go.
And what kind of deal would they have to do for him to go? They'd have to completely terminate his contract, number one. Then he would have to take the biggest pay cut in the history of the world, probably, to join a Premier League club. Or the other alternative is like when a Premier League team does a deal with, for example, Man United do a deal with Borussia Dortmund. Yeah, Sancho can go, we'll help you out with your wages a little bit. Do you genuinely think the Saudi Pro League are going to say to the Premier League, yes, take him on loan for 6 months, we'll pay £900,000 of his £1 million a week wages, you can cover the rest. It just seems so outlandish for the Saudi Pro League to even consider something like that. But I just wonder whether, if he did want to go and they're saying no, and now the communication is, oh, no, I didn't want to go anyway. I'm happy here, I want to stay.
So cynical for one so young. All right, let's talk West Ham, Darmish. We've spoken about Calvin Phillips, and we've just been speaking about the Saudi Pro League. Is there another link there?
Yes, potentially, because we know that from the outset of this transfer window, a left-sided forward was a big priority for West Ham United, which is why the Calvin Phillips one has kind of come out of the blue a little bit. But Jota, the former Celtic striker, and who plays for Al Ittihad as well, he hasn't been involved in the squad at all since the Saudi Pro League window shut in the summer. He's on a reported £200,000 a week. West Ham's still exploring that deal on one side. How seriously they're going for it at the moment, I'm not so sure, but they're just keeping an eye on it. One that looks like it is a lot closer is the Nordsjælland forward called Ibrahim Osman, 19 years old. West Ham and Nordsjælland in advanced talks over the potential signing of Osman. It's a permanent deal, and we think that the fee would be in the region of around £15 million. He's out of contract in the summer. OK, right, I want to race through a couple of other names. Gio Reyna to Nottingham Forest, Melissa. Can that happen? Nottingham Forest are pushing very hard to sign him on a loan deal with a purchase option.
But the latest twist is that Marseille are also in negotiations with Borussia Dortmund. And again, news coming out of France, or the feeling there is that Marseille are quite confident that they could get a deal done. Now, the 21-year-old has changed agents. He's represented by Mendes now, so there's no surprise that he's got options to make the best choice. And ultimately, what he needs to decide is where is he going to get the best minutes and the most minutes, because he had an injury at the start of the season and has hardly featured since. He'll want to get his career back on track.
Darmish, 20 seconds. Leander Dendoncker, what's going on with him?
Yeah, it looks like he's on his way to Napoli. I think we can see shots of him arriving in Rome for a medical with Napoli. It's a loan with an option to buy, and we think the option price is around £8.5 million. He joined in the summer of 2022 when Villa were managed by Steven Gerrard. They bought him from Wolves for around £13 million. Not in favour under Unai Emery. Looks like he's on his way from Villa to Napoli.
Yeah, Naples, not the worst place in the world. For the moment, thank you very much. That's the Transfer Show at 5. We are back at 7 with much, much more. All the rest of the news, Sky Sports News, next. I will see you after the break.